The Talmud in Tractate Eruvin on page 21b shares with us a fascinating story of the sage Rabbi Akiva towards the end of his life when he was locked up in jail. He had been imprisoned for teaching Torah to the masses. The Talmud is discussing the importance of keeping all of the commandments of the Torah, and even those that were commanded by the rabbis, by the sages. And the Talmud emphasizes that if one mocks, God forbid, that which the sages say, then there are dire consequences for that. So the Talmud tells us the following story. Tana Rabbanan, it was taught. Ma'isa b'Rabbi Akiva. There's a story with Rabbi Akiva. Shayachavush bebeis hasur, and he was locked up in jail. V'haya Rabbi Yoshua hagarsi mesharso, and he had an attendant. Rabbi Yoshua hagarsi was helping him out. Apparently, the Roman authorities allowed this student, Rabbi Yoshua hagarsi, to attend Rabbi Akiva when Rabbi Akiva was locked up in jail. B'chol yom v'yom hayu machnisim lo mayim b'mida. Every day they would allow him to have a certain amount of water in the jail. Of course, there was no running water, and they allowed Rabbi Yoshua Garsi to bring in a certain amount of water each day to Rabbi Akiva for his needs. Yom echad matzah shomer beis ha'asurim. One day, the guard found Rabbi Yoshua HaGarsi as he was bringing the water into Rabbi Akiva. Amar lo, he said to him, Hayomi mecha merubin. Today I see you have a lot of water. Shema lachtar beis ha'asurim atatzarech. Maybe you intend to dig your way out of jail. Maybe you're going to use the water to moisten the ground and perhaps dig your way out of jail with a dirt floor. So the guard spilled out half the water and allowed Rabbi Yoshua Garsi to take in only half the measure of water. When Rabbi Yoshua Garsi got to Rabbi Akiva, Amar lo, Rabbi Akiva said to his student, Yehoshua, don't you realize that I'm an old man? And my life is dependent on your life. I can only survive if you bring me my needs. So Rabbi Yoshua Hagarsi explained to Rabbi Akiva all that happened and why there wasn't enough water. Amar lo, Rabbi Akiva said to him, Tain li mayim, give me the water that you have, she'etol yadai, that I should wash my hands. That I should wash my hands. That's what I want the water for, rather than to drink, because of the rabbinic law of washing hands prior to eating. Amar lo, so Rabbi Yoshua Garsi said to Rabbi Akiva, Lishtos ein magien, there isn't even enough water to drink. Lito yodecha magien, and you're going to use it to wash your hands? Amar lo, Rabbi Akiva said to Rabbi Yoshua Garsi, Ma'aseh, what should I do? Shechayavin aleihen misa, because if one mocks that which the sages say, there could even be a death penalty for that, not in the courts. It means that from heaven they may punish, God forbid, even with death, for mocking that which the sages say. So even though Rabbi Akiva, of course, was not mocking what they say, but he was emphasizing the importance of even keeping the rabbinic decrees. Mutov emos misas atzmi, better I should die my own death, says Rabbi Akiva. In other words, better I should die of thirst. I do not want to transgress that which the sages have said, to wash one's hands before eating. Whether this is something that we should practice, whether we should place washing one's hands over drinking when it's a life and death situation, that would not follow the halacha, that would not follow the letter of the law. When one is faced with a life and death situation, of course they should drink rather than wash their hands. Rabbi Akiva felt, though, that he was not really in a life and death situation. He felt that he could survive without drinking, even though it would be very difficult. And he did not want to transgress the rule of washing hands. Amru, they said, those who were telling the story said, Lo ta'am klum, he did not eat anything. Achehevi lo mayim, until they brought him water, v'natal yadav, and he washed his hands. So he stood his ground, he insisted on being able to wash his hands, and that's what happened. Kishashamu chachamim badavra, when the sages heard this story, Amru, they said, Ma beziknaso kach. If this is the way we find that he behaved when Rabbi Akiva behaved when he was an elderly man, bialduso alachas kama v'kama, all the more so, imagine how steadfast he was when he was younger, when he could survive much more travail. Uma beveisa asurim kach, and if this is the way he behaved when he was in jail, shalo beveisa asurim, if he wasn't in jail and he had more freedom, alachas kama v'kama, all the more so, imagine how steadfast he was in his service of God, even when it comes to maintaining rabbinic decrees. That's the story of the great sage Rabbi Akiva in his elderly years when locked up in jail. What struck me about this story is the final line. If this is the way he behaved when he was locked up, imagine how he would have behaved, or how he did behave, when he was free and able to make his own decisions and not be at the whim and mercy of the cruel Roman guard and the cruel Roman authorities. In the situation we find ourselves now, in being locked up and sheltering at home and having very limited access to the things we normally do, we're not being locked up by some cruel authority, but we are being locked up by a very cruel virus, and it limits us dramatically. The Talmud seems to be saying that, and acknowledging, it is more difficult for a person to shine. It is more difficult to maintain one's behavior when one is locked up and their freedom is limited. And if one can do that, when they are locked up, they can shine, they can behave in an exemplary fashion. The Talmud is saying all the more so one is expected, or one would behave in an exemplary fashion when they are free. Hashem recognizes that when we are at home and unable to have access to all that we normally do, we're limited. And he recognizes that. And therefore, the challenges that we have at home, if we shine and we behave in an exemplary fashion, that is a sign, that's an indication that we are exemplary people, and that we can do that when we have freedom as well. And in fact, we can do better when we have our freedom. The challenges of home, I don't need to tell you. The challenges of maintaining a calm, peaceful, loving relationship within family members when we're all cooped up together. The challenge of the financial challenges, the perhaps limitations on access to things that we need and things that we want. And in general, just being able to connect with Hashem, connect with spirituality, connect with the Torah, these are all much more difficult when we're limited at home. The Talmud is telling us rising to the occasion when we're locked up at home is a very special thing. And it shows what kind of people we really are. We should have that fortitude to be able to show our true colors when we're locked up. And that will show what we really are when we, please God, have our freedom in the very near future.